On this Christmas Eve, very few books celebrate the spirit of kindness and generosity as much as A Christmas Carol. Everybody knows how Ebenezer Scrooge changes because of the events in the Charles Dickens classic story. What is less well known is how the book has changed the celebration of Christmas itself. Changes that crossed the Atlantic to England and are still with us today. Imtiaz Tyab takes us to London to find out more.
The bright lights of London are turned all the way up during the holiday season, with the British capital's ancient streets crammed full of shoppers buying gifts for loved ones. But few might realize that it was the man who lived here who inspired it all. Charles Dickens, yes, the legendary author of The Adventures of Oliver Twist, Great Expectations, and A Christmas Carol.
Who were you then?
The holiday classic that introduced the world to Ebenezer Scrooge, a miserly old man who is visited by four ghosts on Christmas Eve. And of course,
Humbug!
His famous grumble,
Humbug.
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 But what's less known is what inspired the author to write it.
Dickens actually...
Legendary British actor Simon Callow, who's adapted Dickens for screen and stage, explains the tale started out as a political pamphlet, highlighting the horrors of poverty in industrial-era Victorian England.
And then suddenly had this inspiration. He would write not a piece about someone who was poor, but about someone who was rich, about a terrible miser, someone who lived entirely for money.
Ebenezer Scrooge?
Ebenezer Scrooge, the very same.
Bob Cratchit.
Most of us know Scrooge gives up his selfish ways.
It's Mr. Applegate, sir. He's here to speak to you about his mortgage.
God bless us, everyone.
And lavishes a delectable dinner on the family of his long-suffering employee, Bob Cratchit. But it's Dickens's vivid descriptions of delicious food, holiday decorations, and goodwill to all men.
Well, when Dickens released a carol,
That former curator of the Dickens Museum, Louisa Price, says has become something of a blueprint for how Christmas is celebrated over 170 years after the author's death.
What's really interesting about Charles Dickens is we have to remember Christmas was not celebrated in the way that we do now.
Yeah, what Dickens did with the carol and his subsequent Christmas writing was really establish it as a significant festival within the country and something that everyone would celebrate.
The commercial appeal of A Christmas Story was also not lost on Dickens.
One of the reasons that it's so successful is simply because it's seasonal, you know, and that was one of the reasons he wrote it. He wrote it because he wanted it to be very successful.
Although Dickens eventually tired of his association with the holiday, A Christmas Carol's message of redemption continues to be a gift that keeps on giving.
What do you think he would make of that, the enduring legacy of this?
I don't think he'd be at all surprised. He was fully aware of the excellence of his work.
So excellent. Christmas celebrations today wouldn't be the same if it weren't for Charles Dickens.
God bless us, everyone.
For CBS Mornings, I'm Imtiaz in London.
Thank you, Imtiaz. I like that. Not at all surprised.